What do you think?
They're
Scott?
different.
Well, I think
Oh,
it
they're
is guy.
different.
Yeah, so different.
They're different.
So impressed.
Hey, Flareon, let's go get him. Okay, Leafeon, let's go. That was
Looks like
great.
Leafeon and Flareon on the same team. That sounds
It's
like
a volatile combination. It's made for comedy. It's great.
Their team chlorophyll.
Alright, everybody. Today, I'm going to be presenting Thriller Bark, an underrated arc.
Oh my fucking god.
I'm just kidding. That'd be ridiculous. I'm presenting Halloween Town Shonen, Should Soul Eater Have Gone Harder? Kidding again. We are doing Thriller Bark. A filler arc? Is it Filler Bark? Okay, so, a little bit of background. Thriller Bark is a bit contentious in the One Piece fandom.
I
Some
have no
people...
idea you watch One Piece.
He does.
Sean, this is important.
Why are you assuming I've ever seen One Piece? Thriller Bark, according to this comment at least, didn't crack the top 10 in the forum's last popularity poll as of 2021. Some people kind of look at it like it doesn't have moments like other beloved arcs did. So let's go over a couple of those. This is manga, so read right to left.
Oh!
A beloved moment in early One Piece in the Arlong Park arc is when Nami is going over her backstory, what exactly happened to her that caused her trauma, and Luffy doesn't even listen. He just fucks off. Now, after he fucks off, he comes back, and Nami asks him for help, and he simply says okay, because she's the navigator of his crew, she's his friend, and he's going to help. That is motivation enough for him. Yeah, there's a handful of other little moments like this. Sanji's backstory is pretty harrowing. It makes his send-off even greater. The giants in Little Garden, they are having a decades-long conflict with each other. The two of them are at war, but they stop this conflict to let the Straw Hat crew, that's the name of Luffy's crew, the main crew in One Piece, to let them through onto the next island.
Quick question. Do you happen to know what Straw Hat is in Japanese?
Mugiwara.
Nice. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you know this in German? Yeah,
No.
that's impressive.
It's Hatton Germano.
Right, yeah.
Some major moments in One Piece
Oh my God.
that are very important. When the Straw Hats leave Alabasta, the Princess of Alabasta, Vivi, calls out to them. But she is unable to receive a response from them because if they call back, then the world government who is watching them at this time will realize that the two of them are in cahoots. So instead, each of them has a mark on their arm, a little X below a bandage, that they meant to use as a system for telling if there was a shapeshifter in their midst. And they raise their arms silently to show the mark to her, a way of saying, you will always be on our crew. Another such moment, very important moment in Enies Lobby at the end of the Water 7 arc, is when Luffy is going after Nico Robin. Now, Nico Robin, some context, is branded a criminal simply for being alive. The knowledge she holds is something the world government never wants to get out. And so from the time she was a child, she is hunted. Every crew she has ever been on has betrayed her for the money. And finally, after meeting the Straw Hats, she determines, this is the crew that will never betray me. And she turns herself into the world government in exchange for their safety. But Luffy's not going to accept that. Luffy goes to capture her at the gates of justice, where the world government ferries their criminals to impel down the prison that exists underwater. And he says to Sniper King, who is an excellent character, wish people could see more of him,
We'll shoot the
down
funny
that
feature.
flag. It would be that he has a giant weapon he calls Kabuto.
Is it a sniper?
It is a slingshot with
Yes.
several parts. Now, he shoots down the flag, and a leader of the world government says, do you really think you can take on the whole world? To which he responds, bring it on. Very cool stuff. Great moments. Powerful. Now, what's this got to do with Thriller Bark? Well, Thriller Bark doesn't exactly have a singular powerful moment like that, and I think that's why people can't point to it as an arc that was on scale of like previous arcs, like Water 7, Alabasta, things like that. However, let's start with what Thriller Bark is. So this is a spooky presentation, and Thriller Bark is a very spooky place. It is the Halloween Town arc, more or less. It has a bitchin' Halloween aesthetic. I wrote that down. A mysterious mechanic for the plot to revolve around, involving stolen shadows, and some of the best creature design in all of One Piece. Like, look at these things. That is a Cerberus made from the bodies of 2 hounds and a fox because they couldn't find a third one. We have the giant Oars, who is more than double the size of any other giant that the crew has ever seen to this point. We've got Sindri right here, who has a lovely arc of her own. There's some bizarre creatures and some wonderful gags, like that is a tree pouring a cup of tea, I believe, for a horse. There's a moment where a zombie comes out of the ground in front of Luffy and he just puts his hands on his shoulders and pushes it back in. Tremendous. In addition to that, like, the setting's Halloween Town, but it's a bit more than that. Thriller Bark is a ship. It is the biggest ship in the world, in fact. And this ship eats other ships and cannibalizes their crew for parts to create Marios. The zombies are called Marios, don't worry about it. The leader
You're
of
also
Thriller
voiced by
Bark-
Chris Pratt? Are they also voiced by Chris Pratt?
No, thank God.
Who are they voiced by?
Japanese
What's their
people.
Yeah.
Pretty sure most
His
of the shadows
research.
don't have a voice.
You've really well researched this.
But yeah, with a premise that killer, we have to ask, where is the emotional core of Thriller Bark? Emotional cores are very important to One Piece. Look at all these crying characters. These are all real panels.
Yep. Oh yeah.
We know.
Yeah. It's all about emotional cores. I mean, single emotional moments usually are a culmination of a through line of something that's been happening for an arc or multiple arcs. Characters' journeys are usually not made transparent at first, but over time you get to see their backgrounds and you get to see the culmination of their philosophies and their ideals. In this case, there are a few notable ones within Thriller Bark, but these are not going to be the ones I'm talking about. These are just a couple of extra little tidbits that make Thriller Bark great that are sprinkled in here. For instance, Laboon's story and Brook's final song. Legendary tales in their own, but we don't have time to get into them. Laboon is the adorable whale. Brook is the pianist who is surrounded by a bunch of corpses. That is his crew, unfortunately. Sindri's story, actually very very wholesome, but also very harrowing, and I think kind of unique amongst a lot of One Piece stories, even insofar as they're depressing. This one is uniquely depressing and has a more bittersweet ending than most. There's a fight between Usopp, who is not Sniper King, and Verona. That is just a great fight. And there's Ryoma, who's the coolest son of a bitch. He's this mummy samurai. He concedes that even though he is a great swordsman, he is not as great as Zoro, and gives his sword to Zoro to wield when one of Zoro's swords was broken during his lobby. It is worth noting that Ryoma has Brook's shadow. Brook is the newest member of the crew. His shadow was stolen by Gecko Moria and put into a Mario of a samurai to create a swordsman far beyond the level that Brook is capable of. Brook himself is a swordsman and has repeatedly clashed with Ryoma to try to earn his shadow back, but when he sees Ryoma and Zoro fighting, he realizes he was never going to be on the scale to take his shadow back from Ryoma, and he needed help in order to achieve that. That's a motif that's going to tie into the themes we're getting at here. Alright, we're going to skip that, especially that, yeah. Okay, so, don't worry about any of that stuff. There's some bad parts to Thriller Arc, and we're moving on. Okay, so, during conflicts in One Piece, it's worth noting that it's generally one philosophy against another, and whoever wins the fight is the person with the winning philosophy. Oda has said, Ichiro Oda is the writer of One Piece, that Luffy doesn't kill his enemies, he kills their dreams. He so thoroughly fights another opponent on a level where they no longer have the motivation to fight once Luffy is done. It is a way of comparing philosophies and finding whose is truly the better, more pervasive philosophy. This is Luffy kicking Crocodile in the face really hard. It is a battle of philosophies, don't get it mixed up. Moria, I believe his picture next. There he is.
Yeah.
This is Gecko Moria, leader of Thriller Bark, captain of Thriller Bark, since it is a ship. He sees Luffy as like a younger him, an upstart who is about to go get his ass kicked the way Moria did when he entered the New World, which comes after the Grand Line, which is like the first half of the seven. And Moria himself, he actually looks like this. I just thought it was rather unsightly, so I went with sexy Moria first.
Can you go back?
I don't know how, so we're on this Moria now.
That can't be real.
That's real.
That's rough.
Yeah, I was like, what's he doing with all this fan art?
So that's what losing genetic lottery looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in that shot where Luffy was kicking the shit out of Crocodile, that's because Luffy has a very particular way of going about his fights. He trusts his crew to hold their own, while he goes straight to the source of the problem and punches it. In that particular battle in Alabasta, that worked. He found Crocodile repeatedly, because Crocodile kept kicking his ass. But the third time, he beat Crocodile in a one-on-one fight. And in this case, Luffy goes after Moria, who is sort of a foil to Luffy, like I've said. He sees Luffy almost like a younger self. He also proclaims he will be king of the pirates, same as Luffy often does. And Moria's philosophy that Luffy is contesting with is one of leadership. Moria believes that leadership is something that you do by having complete control over your underlings. He has zombies. They do everything according to his will. They are 100% under his control. He's even stating here that his former crew died, but now he has zombies, so that's better. He also doesn't do anything himself. Even in his one-on-one fight with Luffy, he has a shadow fight for him instead of fighting Luffy one-on-one. He represents a version of leadership that has your underlings doing everything for you to the letter and you doing nothing yourself. And Luffy represents a version of leadership in the first encounter between them, where the leader spearheads and even takes on responsibilities far beyond their own capacity just to keep their team in the game. And that doesn't work for him. Luffy loses that conflict. But what happens next, I think, is probably the most interesting version of teamwork in One Piece. Ordinarily, it's just about everybody coming together and like fighting as one crew. In this case, there's a sort of visual and mechanically driven metaphor. This is some opponents that Luffy has defeated by himself, by the way. We've got Lucci, who is the giant jaguar man. There's him kicking Arlong really fucking hard. Arlong is a fish man. There's a lot of something mans. Anyways, this is Nightmare Luffy. So, people who have formerly had their shadow stolen by Gecko Moria, they band together in like a little group of survivors. And when they find the defeated Luffy, they say, "You have no strength to fight, but we can give you strength by giving you shadows we've collected." They anticipate giving him about 3 or 4 before he can no longer take the strain of taking in other people's shadows. A little bit of background on that. When Moria cuts the shadow out of somebody, he's taking all of their skills and experiences in order to put them into a zombie. That's why Ryoma was able to fight better than Brook ever could, because Ryoma had the combined swordsmanship of Brook and the body of a great warrior, who I believe is also called Ryoma. I think they just keep their old names. And that's not the only application of shadows. Shadows can also be added to a living person. There's just a time limit and a strain that comes with that. So they put shadows in Luffy, and they keep putting shadows in Luffy. And because Luffy is Luffy, he can take 100 shadows. So he ends up with 100 shadows in him, and he goes back to confront Gecko Moria, and Oars, the giant zombie from earlier, which has his shadow in it. Another piece of the foil that Oars and Moria represent to Luffy. These two competing philosophies about leadership. But this time, Luffy has the strength of community on his side. He has the survivors of Moria's assaults. He has the skills of 100 warriors before him, and he's reunited with his crew for this battle. And they kick Oars' ass. It's very cool. There's Oars and the awful Onion Man. This is the Onion Man pictured swelling with all of the shadows of everyone on the island. It is noted by Moria that even if he's defeated by Luffy, he will not release all of the souls that he has taken, all of the shadows. The only way for that to happen is for Moria to give that command. However, this being One Piece, and this being about philosophies, and Oda's dream-killing mentality, where a person is not killed, their dreams are killed. Even though Moria says he would never release those souls, even in spite of his spite, he does, because Luffy so thoroughly deconstructs his philosophies about leadership with Luffy's own philosophies about leadership that Moria relents and returns the souls to everybody. And that is why Thriller Bark is not an overrated arc. It is an underrated arc in One Piece. Where are we going to go? It's also the last moment that the Straw Hats are all together before they join the New World and operating as a crew before some seriously bad shit happens to them. It's the last hurrah of the Straw Hats before the time skip. Alright. Any questions? Conrad? Jake?
So, what is a One Piece?
We only know it's real. We know very
Yeah.
little else.
Stay tuned for another 1,000 episodes and you might find out.
Can you answer that in German?
Go ahead.
Could Luffy beat Goku?
Probably not.
Could Nightmare Luffy? Can Nightmare Luffy be good?
If he had some Super Saiyan shadows in him, yeah.
Why did Nightmare
That's
Luffy
cheating.
skip like
None of the shadows
Yeah.
look like that.
None of the shadows were assignless.
that?
So wait, the evil leader guy. What's his name again?
Gecko Moria.
Gecko Moria.
Changes based on localization.
He also didn't skip Nick.
Yeah. That guy's neck game is pretty good.
Connor, do you got any questions?
Why?
What? Yeah, what's up, Spencer?
Did Gecko Moria get fat because he's in Gear 4?
No.
No.
That comes
Gear 3rd is the big one.
These are both big.
He's really not, though. Like, he bulks up a little bit in Gear 4th.
Fine. Second question. If Usopp isn't Sniper King, is he Soj King?
Sogeking!
Soga King is Sniper King.
Yeah, it's
Usopp and Soga King are two totally different characters. There are fan theories that they might be the same, but it's never been confirmed in canon.
Are they good friends?
Yes, extremely. They have a song about it.
I don't know, man. I've never seen them on screen at the same time.
Yeah, right? It's a little weird. It's a good piece of evidence towards the theory. But I anticipated the question, why would you make a presentation on One Piece if you've never read it?
Or seen it.
Or seen it. The answer to that is I am on chapter 632 of One Piece.
Really? You're going. Okay. Okay.
I read Thriller Bark on the ride down in the U-Haul van with Nolan. I've been reading it for a year and a half.
How much of a conversation did you have? We're like, man, this arc's pretty interesting. And he just goes,
He likes it. He was of the opinion it was underrated as well.
I also think it's pretty good. I don't know about. I definitely think it's not as good as most of the other ones, but
That's
it's not
fair.
bad.
A while back, Conrad and I had a discussion where I was like, can you imagine if like I read all of Naruto and just didn't tell you, and then suddenly I knew way too much about Naruto? And he said, I'd be more surprised if you read all of One Piece.
Here
Well,
we
guess
are.
what? You still have 400 more chapters.
And I'm going to get through 'em.
Okay.
Uh,
You'll be further than me at that
That
point.
also leaves one more question, which is, have you read Naruto? No, I have not read it.
Oh, dude, look, it's Boruto's dad. I wonder if he's got a show. Do you think he's got a, like an
There's
entertaining
like
show?
a prequel to Boruto.
That'd be really
Yeah,
cool.
like,
Another
I've seen
son
Ruby Show.
died.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope you all enjoy learning a little bit about One Piece and its most underrated arc.
Wait, but could Soul Eater have gone harder?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. That ending? Fuck you.
That'll be what my next presentation is about. The ending was fantastic. Nothing should have changed.
I hate you.
Yeah, I think it could have leaned harder into the Halloween Town aesthetic.
Okay, 684. What's your favorite arc so far?
Enies Lobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The shoot down that flag and like
Fuck yeah, dude. Like it's almost always the best one.
it's so good. The fucking like you really think you can take on the whole world? Bring it on.
That and he goes gear second for the first time there, which is so sick.
It's true. Yeah, you were showing me. You were like, what's that group called? Are they really called CP9? And I was like, yeah, they are, but I'm not gonna say anything. You were
Wait, you were already at that point when we were talking
I
about
was
this like
well
2
past
weeks ago?
that point, yeah. You were showing me the fight with Sanji and the wolf guy, the guy with the like Logia type fruit. Or no, the Zoan type fruit. Yeah, and he was just like, you were like, oh, yeah, this is Sanji. Look, he's able to do this thing where like he spins and his leg lights on fire. And I was like, that's really interesting. I did not know that. I have not seen this before.
That.
in my life.
I've never seen.
You showed me the Thriller Park.
Yeah.
fight.
I've never seen this man before in my life.
So yeah, that's that.
That's pretty good. Good appreciate the dedication.
I like long sentences.
It's
okay.
I keep
And I was
forgetting.
so worried I spoiled it, and then I completely forgot until tonight that you were reading One Piece.
Oh yeah, Spencer knew, Jake knew, and Crush knew. And Ash knew.
Honestly,
Ash knew, but
Yeah,
Ash knew like because I was literally sitting in the room reading One Piece and being like, "Oh, look at what Chopper's doing." I recommend
Oh,
One Piece
that's the
for-
last that we got. Your phone is now dead, so hopefully you recorded that good.
Probably. Let's hope so.
Oh, look at what Chopper